In 1973, my mom met my dad, my stepdad. Um, we became a family, and our life as Jehovah's Witnesses began. Thinking back to the year 1973, it's almost as if it were prehistoric. I mean, 1973? I know people who were born in 1993. I remember walking down the steps of the apartments that we lived in New Iberia, in Back Manila apartments, and walking down the stairs and ripping my red short set my green short set on the way down the stairs. Green short set ripped. My mom made them by hand for my first day of school. I ripped those joints walking down the stairs, almost to the bottom. Turned around, went back upstairs, got the red short set. My parents were missionaries of sorts, in that they devoted their lives to the idea and the ideals of that were presented by Jehovah's Witnesses. Understand the 70s were a time, it was crazy out there. Imagine storming the Capitol, which is sort of like an everyday thing. Every few years, something major like that was still going on. Don't make me account of the events of, like, exactly when the astronauts went to space or something. But, a few years after that, there's Jonestown Massacre. Leonard Skinner had crashed their plane. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's really a major thing to me, because that's actually one of my first memories associated with music. Leonard Skinner crashing their plane. I remember looking at the television screen with my folks, and even they stopped, right? They stopped to watch this. They commented on this. So it had to be something real. And my parents were different. My parents were super, super cool. I'm not saying that they aren't, but I have to speak as a kid thinking about his parents. My parents were super cool. Involved in their ministry with Jehovah's Witnesses. Like, I became, my stepdad's sidekick. I was particularly with him whenever we had the opportunity to go out in field service. Field service being the preaching and the ministry work that we did every Saturday. Excuse me, it's the South and I have allergies. I can't tell you how many drunken stoner acid heroin freaks I've stood in front of on Saturday mornings talking the gospel with my parents to these people. Can't tell you how many weirdo conversations with former prisoners, Nazis. Excuse me, I can't say Nazis, not because it's something politically incorrect, but more accurate. Skinheads, bikers. When I say bikers, I'm talking about 1970s bikers. I'm not talking about the people who, oddly enough, I'm able to be around, although not a part of any particular biker community or any biker community at all. But, I feel comfortable with speaking to these people, whether it's business related, in the context of me serving them if I were bartending, or if it's just a person that you see on the street saying, man, dude, it's a nice ass bike over there. I wasn't sheltered, but I was very well taken care of. The odd part that makes is, however, the things that go on in life thereafter, that as our minds form and we're able to look at them from a more adult space and place, that say something is wrong. And when I say something is wrong, I'm saying something and everything is not right. I was a shitty little kid, and I was a great kid. I was Charles Dickens. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. My life is definitely a tale of two cities, both physically as well as psychologically and emotionally. Wanting to be a regular, everyday, normal human kid with ambitions and drive, and people who are living in the present backing you with ambition and drive. Had I been born with a bubby and Hanukkah, right? Exhorted and even pushed to utilize all of my brain for education. Not that I wasn't trained or taught or led to utilize all of my brain, but it just wasn't that it was for any other purpose than fulfilling another group of people, another group of men's agenda. If all scripture is inspired by God, then all human beings have the ability to be inspired by God and to say inspirational things that come from Jehovah God himself. And that is something that in my childhood that was missing, that I have to do with myself right now. And that is also a statement that I'm making to anyone else. If it didn't happen in your past, in your youth, then you're at a point in your life where if you see it, you're wrong in it all if you are not taking the opportunity to make it happen right now. If you can see it, then it's upon you to do something about it. So, what was missing in the past, or what was clouded in the past, is the ability for the human being to make the decision that is the greater decision, not just the human being to make the decision to conform to other people's ideas and to other people's ideals. Because the idea is that, in our case, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, a business, has a group of men who are ordained by God himself to lead the group. How that happens, I don't know. Because it's not something that was ever talked about. It's something that we accept. And I'm glad to the teeth, or the T, or whatever the infinite point is, that my parents did choose to allow, I can't even say that, even allow God to lead them into that direction, allow themselves to be drawn to that connection, to be associated with and integrate themselves with the group of people and the organization and the collective and the business and the this and the that are Jehovah's Witnesses. Why? Because both my parents are alive today. They may not have much, but they're both alive. And that is opposed to being very dead and broken or something like that, compared to the place that they were in, or could have been led to, had they not found a source of inspiration that was and is the organization, the religion known as Jehovah's Witnesses. So, since I don't take notes, at least not now, at least at this point, or have a specific speaking point, I will stop at this place because, again, I definitely am going to speak on some things that will sound hurtful. They will sound very, very specific. They will be potentially a discouraging type of conversation. Let's also remember that the apostles and early Christians, I hate using that word, Christians, early followers of the way who met with their brethren in Jerusalem, with the organized group that were there, they argued. They didn't physically fight, at least there's no record of that, but they argued. They didn't even like each other at certain points. Paul and Barnabas, they broke their little situation apart. But there's definitely going to be some things that I'm going to say that strike a chord of the hurt, or that are hurtful. How about that? That are hurtful, whether received or whether it's being impugned or pushed out towards someone else. But the fact of the matter is, just speaking the truth as I see it. I'm speaking the truth of my life that actually is it. Which is not to give rise to, is not to be used coercively by any troll on the internet who is looking for a conversation out of my speech that says anything that they want to corroborate against the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. If there's something that you find in anything that I say that parallels your thoughts, then you call me, you talk to me, you email me, you communicate with me directly. Don't take my words that are out here in the ether and wrap them around your disdain, your distrust, or your trauma. I'm going to tell you that now. Other than that, hey, let's all have a good time in figuring out the rest of our lives.